Did you know Yellowstone is the world's first national park? Yellowstone National Park, established in 1872, was the first national park in the world. Located mostly in Wyoming, USA, it is a true natural wonder. The park is famous for its geysers, hot springs, and wildlife, and it sits atop a massive volcanic caldera. This makes it not only a beautiful, but geologically unique place on the planet. Yellowstone is Mother Nature's masterpiece, attracting millions of visitors each year. Why do some old clocks have one number written incorrectly? If you have ever looked closely at the dials of old clocks, you may have noticed that the Roman numeral for 4 is often written as 3 instead of the standard Ivor. The reason for this lies in historical traditions. Roman craftsmen believed that 3 looked more symmetrical on the clock face and was easier to recognize by the eye. This rule has carried over from ancient times to modern antique clocks, preserving its incorrect beauty. Did you know ice can take more than one familiar form? We usually think of ice as frozen water, but did you know there are over 17 different types of ice? The most common type we encounter daily is known as ice. However, depending on pressure and temperature, water can form other crystalline structures, each with unique properties. For example, under high pressure, water can turn into hexagonal or even cubic ice. These forms of ice occur in nature under rare conditions, such as deep ocean trenches or on icy moons. This shows how incredibly versatile and complex water molecules are, adapting to various environments. Did you know that laughter is good for your heart? Laughter is not just a way to lift your mood, but also a great way to keep your heart healthy. Scientists have proven that laughter improves circulation, helps blood vessels expand, and reduces stress levels. It's like a natural medicine that helps your heart work better and longer. So next time you laugh, remember, you're not just improving your mood, but also giving your heart a great gift. Laughter really is the best medicine. Owls don't just see, they mesmerize. Owls don't have typical eyeballs. Instead, they have specialized tubular eyes. This unique adaptation allows them to keep their eyes fixed, giving them exceptional binocular vision and the ability to rotate their heads almost 270 degrees. Thanks to this, owls become masters of nighttime hunting, detecting even the slightest movements in complete darkness. Their eyes are more than just organs of sight. They are powerful tools that make them incredible hunters. And every time they turn their heads, it's like witnessing nature's magic in action. Did you know that grizzly bears can run faster than horses? Contrary to the belief that bears are clumsy giants, they can reach speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour. That's faster than many horses. Grizzlies have not only powerful muscles, but also incredible agility, making them fearsome predators. Their speed allows them to hunt successfully and protect their territory. So if you encounter a bear in the wild, don't think you can outrun it. Better to keep a safe distance and admire its power from afar. Why is there a restaurant in Tokyo where real ninjas serve food? In Tokyo, there is a restaurant where waiters dress as ninjas, and it's wildly popular. The waiters perform tricks, vanish into thin air, and serve dishes with an air of mystery. The menu features exotic dishes, served with an element of surprise, and every meal is accompanied by a show. It's not just a restaurant, it's a full adventure for those who have always dreamed of seeing ninjas in action. Why is the American economy so strong? What is the American economy? It comprises half of the world's most valuable companies, with 8 out of the top 10 being American. But what makes this economy so powerful? It's due to its ability to adapt and invest in new sectors. Historically, the U.S. has been very successful in choosing development strategies and has leveraged the economic opportunities from the wars of the 20th century for its growth. Moreover, the U.S. is not only strong domestically, but also controls a significant portion of global trade and production. Did you know that the U.S. seized Panama for the canal? In 1903, when Panama was still part of Colombia, the U.S. engaged in a real political maneuvering. On November 4th, an uprising broke out in Panama, and the U.S. Navy blocked Colombian forces from suppressing the revolt. Just 2 days later, on November 6th, the U.S. recognized Panama's independence. Soon after, a treaty was signed granting the U.S. control over the Panama Canal, as well as the right to station troops in Panama and construct the canal. In exchange, the U.S. paid $10 million and an annual rent of $250,000. The canal opened new trade routes, but most importantly, provided the U.S. with a strategic advantage, allowing for rapid military deployment between oceans. Did you know that only 1/10 of an iceberg's mass is visible? When we see an iceberg, it may seem like just a big block of ice. However, 90% of its volume is hidden underwater. This happens because the density of ice is lower than that of seawater, causing most of the iceberg to remain beneath the surface. That's why icebergs are so dangerous for ships. Their true size is much larger than what is visible above the water. Did you know the Nile is the longest river in the world? The Nile River, which stretches approximately 6,650 kilometers, passes through 11 countries in northeastern Africa. These countries, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda, depend on the Nile for their economies, cultures, and ecosystems. The Nile is not only a lifeline for millions of people, but also a witness to ancient history spanning millennia. Can you imagine that monkeys can use money? Experiments have shown that monkeys can be trained to use money. They demonstrate an understanding of its value, make economic choices, and exhibit human-like traits such as protesting against injustice or even engaging in prostitution among male monkeys. This finding raises questions about how much our economic behavioral patterns may be common across species. Did you know that Americans produce a quarter of all goods and services in the world? They make up just 4% of the world's population, yet they produce a staggering 25% of all goods and services on the planet. That's more than countries with billion-plus populations like China, India, and Russia combined. It's interesting how they manage to maintain such power. In reality, the strength of the American economy is attributed not only to the size of its domestic market, but also to its unique capacity for innovation. Americans create technologies that change the world and actively develop industries such as high technology, medical science, and financial services. Surprisingly but true, the Wave in Arizona attracts tourists from around the world with its unique natural formation. Located on the border with Utah, the Wave is a remarkable sandstone feature that has become a symbol of natural beauty and stunning landscapes. This site is known for its wave-like rock structures, painted in vibrant shades of red, orange, and yellow. Travelers from across the globe visit to see this place, and many photographers consider it one of the most beautiful and photographed spots on Earth. Can you imagine? Your blood vessels could wrap around the Earth twice. Have you ever wondered how complex the human circulatory system is? If you laid out all the blood vessels in your body end to end, they would stretch about 96,000 kilometers, enough to wrap around the Earth twice. This intricate network of arteries, veins, and capillaries is vital for transporting blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. This amazing feat of nature highlights just how complex and beautifully designed our bodies are. Now that you know this fact, you can marvel even more at how your body works. Slavery in the United States existed from 1619, but was officially abolished only in 1862 through President Abraham Lincoln's decision. He became a symbol of the struggle for freedom and equality. By that time, slavery was deeply entrenched in American society, and its abolition marked a significant milestone in U.S. history. This act triggered a series of changes in the country's social structure, leading to the Civil War and serious economic and cultural transformations that continue to impact society today. Why do you think lightning can strike the same place multiple times? Contrary to popular belief, lightning can strike the same place multiple times. For example, the Empire State Building in New York is hit by up to 100 lightning bolts every year. This happens because tall buildings and structures attract electric discharges. The tops of these buildings are equipped with lightning rods to protect them from strikes, making multiple lightning strikes not just possible, but common. Have you ever wondered where the word okay came from? Can you imagine that one of the most popular words in the world came from a simple joke? In 1839 in Boston, the phrase all correct was intentionally misspelled as all correct in a humorous newspaper article. This abbreviation, shortened to OK, quickly became common in everyday language. Since then, OK has become universal, understood in almost every corner of the world. It signifies agreement, affirmation, or just a friendly gesture. From humble beginnings to global spread, OK proves that even a joke can become a linguistic phenomenon. Now, when you use this word, you can remember its amusing origins. Is it true that in Argentina, there is a river that burns? The Quirecura River in Argentina is famous for its unusual fiery phenomena. Periodically, fiery geysers erupt from its depths. This happens due to underground methane deposits, which ignite when they come into contact with air. Amazingly, this river is not only a beautiful natural phenomenon, but also raises concerns among scientists, as constant gas emissions could signal larger natural disasters. Locals call it the River of Spirits, linking it to ancient legends. Imagine for a moment that Alaska was once part of Russia. Today, Alaska, one of the harshest and most remote states in the US, was formerly a part of the Russian Empire. It was sold to the United States in 1867 for a record-breaking $7.2 million. Alaska is not only one of the northernmost states, but also has the longest coastline in the US, stretching over 10,000 kilometers. The region has a challenging climate that makes it unique and markedly different from the rest of the country, while remaining an important strategic and natural resource. It's interesting that footprints on the moon will last for millions of years. Due to the lack of atmosphere on the moon, the footprints left by astronauts may remain for millions of years. There is no wind or water on the moon to erase footprints or even the marks left by spacecraft. This means that the footprints from the Apollo missions, left in the 1960s and 1970s, will remain almost unchanged for millions of years. The moon's surface is like a time capsule of space exploration history. It's interesting that Italy has a failed skyscraper. In Milan, there is a skyscraper that locals call the Failure. The Pirelli building, constructed in the 1950s, became a symbol of architectural failure, constantly requiring repairs due to design flaws. Despite its modern shape, the building became an object of mockery, but over time, it transformed into one of the city's iconic landmarks thanks to its unusual fate. Why is Louisiana really considered the most dangerous state in the USA? Louisiana, located in the southern part of the country, is considered the most dangerous state in the U.S. in terms of murder rates. This state suffers from a high level of violence, making it one of the most crime-ridden in the nation. In contrast, New Hampshire, situated in the northeastern U.S., is the safest state with minimal crime rates. The stark difference between these states highlights the significant disparities in crime across various regions of the U.S., largely influenced by social and economic factors. Did you know that in Dubai there is a heavy gold ATM? In Dubai, you can find ATMs that dispense gold bars instead of regular money. These gold ATMs allow customers to purchase small bars of pure gold in various weights, from 1 gram to 2.5 kilograms. The gold is dispensed in beautiful gift packaging, and you can track the current price in real time. Dubai is famous for its luxurious landmarks, but being able to withdraw gold directly from an ATM is a true symbol of the city's extravagance. Did you know that the income gap in the U.S. is enormous? In the U.S., there is a significant income gap between the richest and the rest of the population. The wealth of the top 1% of Americans is equivalent to that of the bottom 90%. This economic divide continues to grow, leading to social tension and an increase in protests over inequality. More and more Americans are concerned about how the wealthy keep accumulating riches while the rest of the population faces economic hardships. Johnny Appleseed, the man who planted apples not for food. Many of us have heard the legend of Johnny Appleseed, whose real name was John Chapman. This famous gardener didn't just plant apple trees across America. His goal was much more interesting. He planted trees not for the apples to be eaten, but to produce cider. In the early 19th century, apples were mainly used to make this alcoholic drink, and Johnny Appleseed became a hero among cider lovers. Knowing this story, each glass of apple cider will feel a bit more historical. Is it true that ancient Egyptians used crocodile dung as a contraceptive? Yes, it's true. Around 2,000 years before Christ, women in ancient Egypt used crocodile dung as a method to prevent pregnancy. They believed this method would block sperm from entering. While this might sound strange and even risky from a modern medical perspective, people back then sought any means of birth control. This historical fact shows just how far humanity has come in the development of medicine. Thanks to modern research, we now have much safer and more reliable methods of contraception. Is it possible that earthworms can regenerate their bodies? Yes, it's true. If an earthworm loses part of its body, it can regenerate the lost segment. However, contrary to popular myths, if you cut a worm in half, only the part with the head will survive. Regeneration in earthworms is a fascinating process, but it's not as magical as some may think. Imagine being able to regrow parts of your body as if nothing ever happened. How about this? In Sweden, there's a competition for the worst-smelling socks. This may sound absurd, but Sweden holds an annual competition called the Stinky Sock Contest, where participants compete for the title of owning the smelliest socks. The competition attracts many brave souls willing to wear their socks for months without washing in hopes of winning. The socks are judged based on intensity and aroma, and the winner gets not only the title, but also unique prizes, such as a year's supply of new socks. It sounds weird, but this contest really exists. Did you know that the world's first film was shown in 1894 in New York City? This was made possible by Thomas Edison's invention of the kinetoscope, a device developed to display moving images. The kinetoscope allowed viewers to watch short films individually. A year later, in 1895, the second film in the world was screened, establishing New York as the birthplace of cinematography and quickly making the city a cultural capital for many creative fields. Notably, these early steps in filmmaking anticipated the future of the film industry, marking an important milestone in global culture. What remarkable feature does Queen Elizabeth II have in her long career? Queen Elizabeth II is the longest reigning monarch in world history, having served on the British throne for 70 years. During her reign, the country has undergone numerous historical changes, and the Queen herself has become a symbol of stability for the nation. Over the years of her reign, the United Kingdom has experienced many political, social, and economic shifts, but her dedication to duty and unique ability to remain at the center of the country's political life have been key aspects of her leadership. Did you know that Tokyo has buildings that can grow? Tokyo has a construction technology that allows buildings to increase in height even after completion. The foundation is reinforced so that additional floors can be added later. This saves space in the metropolis and adapts to changing demands. For example, the Mizushima skyscraper was built with 14 floors, but later grew to 20. Can you imagine that in Colorado, there's a town where it's illegal to die? In the town of Nederland, Colorado, there's a strange and even absurd law. You can't die in the town. This law stems from a local history involving attempts to preserve a man's body in a frozen state. Now the town has declared itself a territory for immortals, and locals jokingly claim that they're simply not allowed to die. Of course, the law isn't enforceable, but many people visit Nederland to laugh at this odd tradition and learn about the story of the frozen eternal resident. The most expensive painting ever sold went for hundreds of millions. In 2017, Leonardo da Vinci's painting, Salvator Mundi, Savior of the World, was sold at auction for an astonishing $450 million. This masterpiece was long considered lost until it was rediscovered in the 20th century. Even after its discovery, debates over its authenticity continued. Many wondered if it was truly painted by Leonardo himself. Nevertheless, its sale made history, turning Salvator Mundi into the most sought-after art piece in the world. How would you react if you learned that the national motto of the USA is "God helps"? This might be surprising, especially in a country where there is no official state religion and freedom of worship is encouraged. The USA is a nation where everyone can choose their own faith, and the government does not interfere in these personal matters. Interestingly, the dollar is not just a currency, but a true icon of the global economy. Its printing is handled by only 12 banks, and the paper for the banknotes is produced by a single company, highlighting the significance of this currency on the world stage. Who would have thought that polar bears have black skin? Yes, beneath their snowy white fur, polar bears actually have black skin. This may seem surprising, but nature designed these animals to have the best possible insulation for surviving in freezing environments. Their black skin helps them absorb more sunlight, while their hollow, transparent fur traps the sun's rays, creating a thermos effect. This incredible adaptation allows polar bears to stay warm in the extreme Arctic cold. Although their fur appears white, it merely reflects the surrounding light, making them almost invisible against the snow and ice. Did you know giraffes barely sleep? Giraffes are masters of the power nap. These towering creatures need only about 1 hour and 9 minutes of sleep a day, and even then, they break their sleep into short bursts, perfecting the art of napping. This remarkable adaptation shows how nature can surprise us with its creativity. Imagine how productive humans could be if we only needed 2 hours of sleep per day. How about this? Every fifth dollar in U.S. taxes goes to defense. This essentially means that the U.S. spends vast sums on developing its military strength and maintaining global influence. One of the most recognizable symbols of American power, the 100 bill, features Benjamin Franklin, who was never a president but played a crucial role in the nation's history. This approach symbolizes not only the influence of individuals, but also the importance of strategic management at all levels, including defense funding. Why do snails bury themselves in the ground? The snails we often see after rain don't just dig into the soil for fun, it's their way of surviving extreme conditions. When it gets too hot or dry, snails create a special mucus plug to retain moisture in their bodies and bury themselves to endure the dry periods. This process, called estivation, is a type of summer hibernation that allows snails to survive harsh seasons. Why do you think there are ice hotels in the world? In some northern countries, such as Sweden and Canada, hotels are built entirely out of ice. Every year, these buildings are reconstructed as they melt by the end of winter. Ice hotels offer guests the opportunity to sleep on ice beds, in ice rooms, surrounded by ice sculptures. However, warm sleeping bags are provided to ensure a comfortable night's stay. It's a unique way to experience the real winter. Wow! It turns out that the 12 Apostles in Australia are not only a natural wonder, but also a piece of historical heritage. The limestone stacks, known as the 12 Apostles, are located along the coast of Port Campbell National Park in Australia. These majestic formations attract around 2 million visitors each year and represent not just a natural phenomenon, but also significant historical value. They are part of an erosion process that has been ongoing for thousands of years and symbolize the power of nature. What if I told you that bees can recognize human faces? Bees are not just hardworking hive workers. They're also skilled at recognizing faces. Yes, they can remember and recognize human faces, especially those they interact with often. This amazing ability helps bees navigate and even remember familiar people, making their complex social interactions smoother. It's incredible, but these little insects have cognitive skills that are often underestimated. Who would have thought that such tiny creatures could be so perceptive? Did you know that the name John is over 4,000 years old? The name John is one of the oldest in human history, documented more than 4,000 years ago. This name has endured through countless ages and cultures, remaining relevant even today. Just imagine, millions of people throughout history have carried this simple yet powerful name, which continues to symbolize tradition and endurance. Believe it or not, the world's smallest snake is less than 10 centimeters long. The Barbados thread snake is a true marvel of nature. This snake holds the title of the world's smallest, living on the beautiful Caribbean island of Barbados. It grows to just under 10 centimeters in length and weighs about 0.6 of a gram, which is around 0.02 of an ounce. This tiny snake feeds on termites and ant larvae, and its eggs are sometimes larger than the snake itself. With its blunt head and toothless mouth, this miniature serpent shows just how diverse and fascinating the animal kingdom is. Polar bears are invisible to infrared cameras. Polar bears are true masters of camouflage. Thanks to their thick layer of fat and dense fur, they are perfectly insulated from the Arctic cold. But what's truly surprising is that these furry giants are almost invisible to infrared cameras. It's as if they have a natural invisibility cloak, making them the ultimate champions in the game of hide and seek. Good luck spotting them with a thermal camera. Surprisingly, Americans consume about 150 million hot dogs each day, making the U.S. the world leader in hot dog consumption. It may seem odd, but hot dogs are an integral part of American culture. They are especially popular at baseball games, street food courts, and picnics. In the US, a country rich in fast food, there are even national holidays dedicated to this product. This level of consumption reflects a culture where food often serves as a quick and convenient dining option available in any circumstance. The first footprint on the moon could stay there for over 1 million years. When Neil Armstrong made his famous footprint on the surface of the moon in 1969, little did he know that it could remain there for millions of years. Because the moon has no atmosphere, there are no processes like wind or rain to erase the print. This makes the moon a kind of time capsule, where astronauts' footprints could remain almost forever. That footprint will always be a symbol of humanity's drive to explore and conquer space. Is it true that Canada has mysterious singing sands? In Canada's Prince Edward Island National Park, there is a beach where the sand produces melodic sounds when walked upon. This phenomenon, known as singing sands, occurs due to friction between sand grains. This remarkable occurrence can only be heard on a few beaches in the world, and scientists are still unsure exactly why these sands sing. What do you think makes Monument Valley one of America's most majestic natural wonders? Located in Utah, Monument Valley truly impresses with its natural grandeur. This plateau, featuring sandstone formations that can reach heights of up to 1,000 feet, has become a symbol of the Wild West and has been extensively featured in films, creating an iconic image of the American wilderness. These natural monuments, shaped by wind and time, represent more than just a landscape. They are a picturesque chronicle of nature, narrating the millennia-long processes of Earth's formation. The story of the word dude, from insult to friendly greeting. The word dude first appeared in the 1800s as a derogatory term for men who were overly concerned with fashion. But over time, its meaning shifted, and by the mid-20th century, it became a casual term for addressing friends or even strangers. Today, dude is a friendly word that can refer to almost anyone and has become a staple of everyday slang. Who would have thought that a word that started as an insult would end up as a friendly greeting? Can you imagine? Flamingos aren't born pink. Baby flamingos come into the world with grayish-white feathers. They develop their signature pink hue only after they start feeding on brine shrimp and blue-green algae. These colorful foods contain pigments called carotenoids, which gradually turn their feathers pink. It's a vivid transformation that turns these elegant birds into the beautiful pink creatures we adore. So the next time you see a flamingo, remember, their color is all thanks to their diet. Did you know that the Tower of London was once bright white? In the Middle Ages, the Tower of London wasn't gray as it is today, but instead it was covered with a white plaster, earning it the nickname White Tower. At that time, white plaster symbolized strength and purity. Every few years, the tower was repainted to maintain its bright appearance. Over time, the coating wore away, and the tower became gray due to dirt and pollution. But once, it really was a gleaming white pearl on the London skyline. Astronauts don't float in zero gravity like we think. Many people believe that astronauts experience total weightlessness in space, but that's a common misconception. In reality, they are constantly falling toward Earth, but at such a high speed that they never crash into it. This continuous fall gives them the feeling of being weightless, a fantastic example of how the laws of physics turn space into a magical realm of floating. Did you know that Mount Everest grows every year? Each year, the world's highest peak, Everest, grows a little taller, by a full 4 millimeters. This happens due to the tectonic plates beneath the Himalayas, which slowly but steadily push the mountain upwards. These tectonic processes have been going on for millions of years, and every time climbers reach the summit, they stand just a bit higher than their predecessors. Imagine, every step on Everest's summit is a step into new heights. It's not just a physical achievement, but a testament to the incredible natural forces that constantly reshape our planet. Everest is a symbol of nature's grandeur and its continuous movement forward. Can you imagine that the highest temperature in the USA was recorded in California's Death Valley at 56 degrees? It's one of the hottest and driest regions on the planet, where living conditions are extremely harsh. In contrast, the lowest temperature in the USA was recorded in Alaska at -60. These temperature extremes illustrate the incredible climate diversity in the country. from the scorching heat of deserts to the deadly cold of the northern latitudes. Did you know that squirrels can cause power outages? It turns out that cute, fluffy squirrels can cause significant damage to the power grid. In the United States, about 10 to 20% of all power outages happen because squirrels accidentally come into contact with wires and electrical equipment. These little mischief makers love climbing power lines, sometimes touching dangerous parts of the equipment. This leads to short circuits and outages that can affect entire cities. Who would have thought that such innocent-looking creatures could cause serious energy problems? Next time you see a squirrel on a tree, think about its potential as a saboteur. Did you know the world's most venomous animal can kill in minutes? The most venomous animal in the world is the box jellyfish, found in the tropical waters of Australia, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Ocean. The tentacles of this jellyfish can reach 3 meters in length and are covered with millions of microscopic stingers that inject a powerful toxin. One sting causes excruciating pain, and its venom can cause cardiac arrest and death within minutes. This oceanic menace is a wonder of nature that you don't want to mess with. Turns out Che Guevara was a medical student. Before becoming one of the most influential figures in revolutionary history, Ernesto Che Guevara was studying medicine in Buenos Aires. In his youth, he was filled with a desire to help people, and his medical knowledge later helped him as he became a symbol of the fight for freedom. Who would have thought that a medical student would one day become an icon of world revolution? His drive for justice manifested even in his pursuit to heal people, whether physically or politically. Who would have thought that the wombat is a true architect of nature? Imagine this. The small, furry wombat living in Australian forests is not just cute, but unique in a very peculiar way. It's the only animal on the planet that leaves cube-shaped droppings. Yes, you heard that right. Perfect little cubes. These unusual blocks don't just roll down hills. Wombats strategically place them to mark their territory. The cubic shape helps prevent them from rolling, which is especially useful in hilly areas. Scientists have long wondered how wombats manage to produce such regular shapes. The secret lies in the unique structure of their intestines, which compress the waste into perfect cubes. Nature never ceases to amaze, and wombats with their cube droppings are a shining example of how fascinating her creations can be. Why do you think the world's most expensive coffee costs so much? Kopi Luwak is the world's most expensive coffee, priced at a whopping $600 per pound. This exotic brew is made from coffee beans that have been eaten and passed through the digestive system of the civet, a small animal found in Southeast Asia. Enzymes in the civet's stomach alter the flavor of the beans, making them smoother and less bitter. The result is a coffee with a unique, mild taste that coffee enthusiasts are willing to pay top dollar for. Did you know that the highest peak in Pennsylvania is lower than the lowest point in Colorado? This surprising fact highlights the incredible diversity and contrast in the geography of the United States. Pennsylvania's highest point, Mount Davis, stands at only 983 meters, which is actually lower than the lowest point in Colorado. The Arkansas River, at around 1,000 meters above sea level. Geography can sometimes surprise you with unexpected comparisons like this one. Did you know the world's oldest recipe is for beer? The oldest known beer recipe dates back to around 4,000 years before our era in ancient Sumeria. This ancient beer shows how long the tradition of brewing has been preserved. Sumerians brewed beer from barley, and this process was a key part of their culture for millennia. Who would have thought that the tradition of beer is so ancient and still thriving today? Have you ever wondered what states are? In the USA, states are not just administrative units like provinces in other countries. Each state has its own unique culture, nature, traditions, and laws. They are not merely geographical divisions. States have their own rights, including the ability to enact laws that apply only within their boundaries. There are a total of 50 states, each with its own identity and distinctive features. For example, California is famous for its technological advancements, while Texas is known for its passion for independence and unique culture. The last state to join the USA was Hawaii in 1959, when it officially became part of America. Did you know there are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on Earth? Surprisingly, there are more stars in the universe than all the grains of sand on every beach on Earth. This cosmic fact highlights the unimaginable vastness of our universe. When you look at the night sky, there are billions and billions of stars, each potentially home to planets we know nothing about yet. Our place in the cosmos feels even more humbling when you realize that stars fill the space far beyond what we can even imagine. Why do people love talking about themselves? Studies show that people spend about 60% of their conversation time talking about themselves. And on social media, this number goes up to 80%. This is because people enjoy sharing their thoughts, experiences, and personal stories. Especially in the age of social media, these platforms have become spaces for self-expression and connection. This fact provides an intriguing insight into human nature, the desire for communication and recognition. Why is the sky blue? The answer lies in science. Have you ever wondered why the sky appears so bright blue? This phenomenon is explained by the scattering of sunlight in the atmosphere. As sunlight passes through the Earth's atmosphere, it collides with gas molecules and scatters in all directions. Blue light has shorter wavelengths, so it scatters more than other colors. This is what makes the sky appear blue to us. It's one of those natural wonders that surround us every day, but are often taken for granted. Peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes. You might be surprised to learn that, botanically speaking, peanuts aren't actually nuts. Peanuts belong to the legume family, like peas, beans, and lentils. Unlike true nuts, such as walnuts and almonds, peanuts grow underground and don't have a hard shell enclosing a single seed. A nut, in botanical terms, is a dry fruit with a hard shell, but peanuts don't fit that definition. Even though we often think of them as nuts, they're technically closer to peas and beans, but with a unique taste all their own. Imagine a flight that lasts only 53 seconds. The shortest commercial flight in the world connects two Scottish islands, Westray and Papa Westray. This flight covers just 1.5 miles and lasts less than a minute, only 53 seconds. By the time you buckle your seatbelt, the plane is already preparing to land. It's probably the quickest and shortest way to travel that you can imagine. If you ever find yourself on this flight, you won't even notice its start and finish. Why does Turkey build palaces for stray cats? In the streets of Istanbul, you can find miniature houses that look like palaces, built especially for stray cats. The locals consider cats sacred animals and care for them with great love. Some of these houses even feature carvings and balconies, with food and water bowls nearby. These cat palaces have become symbols of Turkey's respect for animals, and tourists often admire these little masterpieces around the city. Do you know what the deepest lake in the world is? Lake Baikal, located in Siberia, is the deepest freshwater lake on Earth. Its depth reaches 5,315 feet, which is about 1,620 meters. This natural wonder holds a wealth of secrets, preserving ancient layers of sediments and housing unique species found nowhere else. Lake Baikal is not just a body of water. It's a living archive of the planet's history, containing traces of Earth's evolution hidden deep within its waters. Earth's gravity. Why isn't it the same everywhere? Have you ever wondered why gravity varies slightly in different places on Earth? It turns out this is due to many factors, such as altitude, the density of Earth's crust, and the distance from the equator. Gravity is stronger at the poles and in places with denser crust, like mountain ranges, because these areas are closer to the Earth's center. Conversely, gravity is weaker at high altitudes, such as on top of Mount Everest and near the equator. These variations are caused by the distribution of mass on the planet and the fact that Earth is slightly flattened at the poles. This highlights the complexity and uniqueness of our gravitational field. Now you know, in some places on Earth, you weigh a little more or less than in others. Why are soap bubbles always round? The answer to this question is simple, but quite fascinating. Soap bubbles take on a round shape because it is the most stable and energy-efficient form for holding air inside. When you blow a bubble, the soap film naturally tries to distribute the surface tension evenly. A spherical shape is ideal because it minimizes the surface area, which helps the bubble maintain its structure. Although bubbles can take on other shapes if blown through specific devices or confined spaces, in free flight, they always return to their natural spherical form. It's an example of how the laws of physics manifest in even the simplest things, like soap bubbles. Is it true that you can see kangaroos on the streets in Australia? Absolutely true. In some Australian cities, there are so many kangaroos that they hop around the streets like regular pedestrians. They're especially common in Canberra, where kangaroos even cause traffic jams. Locals are used to this sight, but it's always a surprise for tourists. In these cities, there are even special signs warning drivers about tail-walking pedestrians. Why do chickens peck at their food? When a chicken finds food and pecks it on the ground, it's not just a random habit. This process is called beak pounding and helps chickens break down food into smaller, easier-to-manage pieces. A chicken's powerful beak acts like a tool to crack seeds and other tough bits of food. This behavior is common among many birds, but chickens do it with particular zeal, allowing them to get more nutrients and energy from their meals. Next time you see a chicken pecking, remember it's using its own little kitchen tools. Octopuses are the interior designers of the ocean you never knew about. Octopuses aren't just smart, they are also the artists of the underwater world. These fascinating creatures love collecting shiny shells, stones, and other treasures to decorate their underwater homes. They create underwater gardens around their dens, meticulously arranging everything. This shows not only their survival skills, but also their sense of artistry. Their homes are not just beautiful, but also designed to protect them from predators and attract the attention of other octopuses. Who would have thought that these sea creatures had such a talent for interior design? Did you know you might have been answering the phone with ahoy? In the early days of the telephone, when Alexander Graham Bell introduced his invention, he suggested using ahoy as a greeting when answering calls. Inspired by nautical language, Bell thought it would be a perfect fit for the new way of communicating. Imagine if his idea caught on. We would all be saying ahoy every time we picked up the phone. However, Thomas Edison suggested the word hello, and it became the standard, leaving ahoy as a quirky piece of history. Why does fish rain actually happen? In the city of Yoro, Honduras, an unusual phenomenon occurs every year: rain of fish. This strange natural event happens during the heavy summer storms when hundreds of live fish fall to the ground along with the rain. Locals call it lluvia de peces and believe it to be a divine blessing. However, scientists suggest that strong water spouts form in the atmosphere, lifting fish from nearby bodies of water and depositing them kilometers away. It's one of those phenomena that remind us how surprising and unpredictable nature can be. The broken chains at the feet of the Statue of Liberty. At the feet of the Statue of Liberty are broken chains, symbolizing freedom from oppression and injustice. These chains, often hidden from view, send a powerful message: the continuous march towards emancipation and liberty. They serve as a reminder that the struggle for freedom never truly ends, and every step taken is part of the larger journey towards justice. The Statue of Liberty's broken chains represent hope and liberation for all. Why is there a forest in Australia that glows at night? On Kangaroo Island, you can witness an incredible phenomenon: bioluminescent mushrooms that make the forest look like a fairy tale. The mushrooms emit a gentle glow thanks to bioluminescence, creating an atmosphere as if the forest is filled with stars. It attracts many tourists, especially those brave enough to spend the night among glowing mushrooms in a mystic setting. Did you know that astronauts can't burp in space? In the absence of gravity, our bodily functions behave very differently than on Earth. One of the strange effects is that astronauts cannot burp in space. On Earth, gravity helps separate gas from food in the stomach, allowing us to release air. But in space without gravity, gases remain mixed with liquids, making burping impossible. In fact, if astronauts tried to drink carbonated beverages, it could lead to rather unpleasant results. It's a small reminder of how much gravity influences our everyday functions and how amazing our bodies are in space conditions.